intensive, as you know, I'm sure, in this community, in the center, and your families. It would be a real shame if you only got to see your kids every time there was a big community event. You want to know that they are accountable to your family values, to your community values, and you want to know where they're going, because you wish the best for them, the same way that we as a community wish the best for our city and for our country. To that end, as you build a relationship, it's incredibly important that you understand what these elected officials have in mind, how you can support them, and frankly, as they make promises and as they go out amongst you, it's really important that you also understand what they're doing for you. And I'm not talking about as a group, I'm talking about on an individual basis. Each voter has to understand what you're doing and what they are doing. The ways that we can be consistent and the ways that we can build relationships start on a very pragmatic level. A lot of elected officials spend a lot of time thinking about re-election. It's a shame because we really want to be doing the work. The easier that you can make it for these folks to get back in with your time, with your support, with your social media, with your dollars, with your votes, the more work we can do together. So it's extremely important that you demonstrate time and time again, not just that you're willing to come to this event, but that you're willing to go out and vote, that you're willing to measure the number of people who vote, that you're willing to measure the number of people who rely on each of the people in the room. I bet some of you command the votes of 1,000 people. I bet some of you command the votes of just a few people. And it's really important that we as a community begin doing the work of measuring and improving what we're able to bring to the table in order to get back to that important community work I talked about. The other thing is that I'm sure many of you are familiar with the principle of fard kifaya. It is like an obligation of sufficiency. It is only met, so the basic principle is I'm sure for more this side of the room than for this side of the room, but the basic principle is that the government and the people are supposed to make sure that certain basic social justice and human rights principles are being upheld. Basic justice is one of them. Visiting the sick is another one. In today's society, you might say that housing, affordable housing, or a fair-paying job, you might say that that's a basic principle, a basic right. There are a whole host of other things like educational equity and an ability to move up the economic ladder that you may say are part of the American dream. You may also say that they're part of the Islamic mandate. Things we must uphold. What happens when they're not being upheld? What happens when something is going wrong, as it is in America today, where it's tough to get ahead, where the middle class is eroding? It is each and every one of our responsibility to drop what we are doing, to take something that we're passionate about, to take problems that we see in society, and not to do our part by pointing at it and walking away, but to do as these politicians and these administrators do every day, to actually pick up your share of the burden and begin helping. And the first part is showing up, and the second part is showing up consistently. So that's the real talk that I wanted to have together today. I think to the extent that we are community and solidarity with a much larger community of minorities, minority religions, minority ethnicities, it's really important that we build those bridges and that we demonstrate to our politicians that those relationships are very strong. And I think as we do that, we are, of course, going to hark to the work of the OCRC, the leadership here, the young people here. And I want to see a lot more of us in public office, a lot more of us looking to these politicians for training in becoming those leaders of the next generation. And of course, I want to see a lot more of us creating resources for each other, for local businesses, investment side of things, and of course for candidates who need your financial support and your time. So that's my primer for today. I appreciate you letting me lecture, and I'll return it back to Omar Khashaba. A round of applause, please, briefly, for Omar Khashaba.
Thank you, Brother Nadeem, for that. We're going to begin the question and answer session. A forum, really, a discussion. Imagine yourself in a living room and you're having a discussion with someone who has some control of your affairs. You can call him a ra'i or something else, but we all have control over some people's affairs. And the people in front of us have some control over our affairs. And that can be a lot of different things. It can be some of the things you see on your Facebook feed, some hate that you've seen in the street or on the news, the way you're depicted, the way you're dehumanized. It can be just your general safety here on your street. It can be things related to public safety, which is what this meeting's about here in Malden. You know, you heard it all. And so I want to open up the discussion. Here are some rules, basic rules before we begin. You know, we have 45 minutes for this section. We'll have the wireless mic go to the person who wants to ask the question. You'll have, you know, a maximum 45 seconds to ask your question, which should end in a question mark. So it has to have a, you know, a question, or to be honest, it can be a comment or a sign of appreciation or criticism of some sort. But you know, we're trying to keep it the question so that these people can also engage with us and we can make derive good benefit from them. And we'll also put a time limit on these people right here. Hopefully not more than 3 minutes per answer. We're not gonna like cut them off and grab the mic, but we're trying to get as many people as possible engaged, men and women, children, elders, everybody. And so, yes, let's begin, inshallah.